When your son is at death's door, there is a desire to do whatever you can to get him healthy and find a way to give him something that will lift his spirit with prayers of a recovery. No matter the age, it's heart-wrenching to see your child go through something you cannot control or solve, like a deadly illness. Make-A-Wish is an organization that deals with children that have life-threatening diseases and illnesses. The following reads from their website. Medical eligibility. We determine a child's medical eligibility with the help of the treating physician. To receive a wish, the child must be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition. That is, a progressive, degenerative, or malignant condition that placed the child's life in jeopardy. You can't fake being ill to get something granted from Make-A-Wish. You have to have an actual life-threatening disease or illness that must be currently treated by a doctor who must confirm you have this life-threatening disease or illness. Jonathan John Williams was granted a wish of seeing and being with one of his sports heroes, Derrick Rose. That's his sister Maya and Taya, and his mom, who's also the author, Zerna with an X. John looks healthy right here, doesn't he? But in reality, he has aplastic anemia that kills his blood oxygen and slaughters his body's ability to fight any and all diseases from becoming deadly. His mother wrote a book on his sad but courageous fight for his life called John's Journey, His Struggle with Aplastic Anemia.
Things didn't look right. He had like marks on his legs, like bruises. Except bruises weren't going away; they were getting bigger. And then it incorporated that with blood in his urine. Actually, his urine was coming out like Kool-Aid. It was like that much blood.
Oh my goodness! Before he could be examined by the doctors, John collapsed right in the middle of the emergency room.
And so then he immediately took him to the back. Like hours later, the triage doctor comes, calls me back and says that they're going to have to transfer him to a children's hospital out in Long Island because there was nothing they could do for him at their facility.
Many days later, he was diagnosed with a rare deadly illness which stops his blood marrow from making enough blood cells for his body called severe aplastic anemia. Doctors said he was lucky to be alive, considering that at the time of his emergency room admittance, he had lost several pints of blood and had no active blood platelets left in his body. Blood platelets stop you from bleeding to death. So, in his case, John, if he had a single cut, it could have meant his death.
And it took about 4 days of testing for them to come up with a diagnosis of which is aplastic anemia. So basically his body has shut down on him. When I took him to the emergency room on the 23rd, that first night, he literally needed five pints of blood. Because he had nothing in him.
That's almost his body weight, isn't it?
Yeah. We got the official diagnosis. And that's when they said that he was going to need a transplant, a bone marrow transplant. If he didn't have that, he was going to die because he was that severe. It took him a couple of days for him to start talking, and just like he asked me, what's wrong with me? Why am I in the hospital?
I didn't have the energy.
He needed a transplant immediately. Thankfully, John would find a bone marrow match in his older brother, Carlos. The surgery happened in August of 2012 and was successful. John's sickness meant that his mother had to keep taking time off from work to take him back and forth for doctor's appointments and hospital stays. Imagine this as your daily sight of your son. It makes you think of the days of which he was helpless as a baby. And now he's helpless again. Finally, her supervisor summoned her into the office and said either she'd take an unpaid leave of absence or be forced to hand in her resignation.
We understand your situation, and we realize you can't be in two places at one time. And, they were saying, like, okay, well, we can hold your job, but it'll be unpaid. And so I'm thinking, well, in my mind, I was like, I still have to pay my rent, and I have to keep a roof over the other kids' heads, and we still got, we got to eat, we got, bills to pay, I said, how could I, for the luck, just saying that I have my job held, but I have no money coming in, and I would not have been able to apply for unemployment because of the fact that I technically still had a job. So in my mind, that wasn't an option. It was almost as if I had no choice but to resign. I didn't see any way out of it and stuff. And then, I applied for unemployment. And then I was, at the hospital all the time.
The family lost their apartment.
Technically, we were supposed to, when we moved down here, we were supposed to be living within 15 miles of where the hospital is. Mm-hmm. And that really would not have been feasible because anything within 15 miles of the hospital, I can't afford. That's totally out of my price range. So, therefore, I ended up finding an apartment out way past the airport. So it was to take about 30, 35 minute to 40 minute drive one way, going and coming. And, we were doing that like every other day. Because just because you're a match the first time doesn't mean you'll be a match the second time. There's a lot of times that a sibling with the same parents, that does not mean that they're going to be a qualified donor for transplant.
Right.
So we were very blessed that my other oldest son was a 10 for 10 match. Well, my car broke down. My car finally died when he was still in the hospital. My car started having problems. She was pretty old. She was 10 years old. And she was paid for. And it got to the point where I couldn't drive on the highway. So I had to take the back roads. Because if I drive at a certain speed, the car would shut down on me. Mm. So I had to take the city route, so I could drive at the regular required minimum speed, and in this way my car wouldn't overheat. I driving back and forth, that just took a lot. It took its toll on my car, and she started slowing down. Sometimes when I see the stick go all the way to red, the heater, the heat thermostat, I shut the car off and I would sit and let the car cool down before I try to start the car up and then keep going to get to my destination. This one trip where my car it stopped in front of some couple's house, and they let me keep the car in their driveway, and they gave my kids and I a ride back to the Ronald McDonald house. And then they were gonna fix the car for me. It was a nice couple. They were gonna fix the car. When they took it to, I guess, their mechanic, you know, it turned out that I needed a new transmission and a new engine. And the mechanic was basically telling them for what that cost, that I would it just makes sense for me to just get another car. And that was my only transportation. I mean, it's really hard because I don't have everybody to ask, because everybody, you know, I know works, you know. And then, you know, I live far out, you know. I live far out, so people really can't get to me. There's no buses or trains in my county.
If you would like to help this wonderful family get on their feet and John restore his health, you can download their book, John's Journey, His Struggle with Aplastic Anemia, by Zerna Nueves, his mom. It's a fundraiser detailing John's emotional and courageous fight for his life, and it's only $9.99. If you want to know the full story, please buy the book. Meanwhile, an update. John and his family must get a car. Remember, they are nearly 20 miles from transportation, not counting the time it takes to arrive at the hospital. They are in crisis mode. They are in crisis mode of living, if you can call it that, off of John's monthly Social Security check that is split 6 ways and all bills are paid on. Because of this, the worst is looming. They are evicted next Friday, April 25th, 2014. PayPal support them at zerna@gmail.com. That's Zerna with an X, ERNNA @gmail.com. XERNNA@gmail.com. And or buy the book, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's a $9.99 download or a $25 paperback. But you can always support them in any amount at zerna@gmail.com. Remember, they are Make-A-Wish verified. One last important thing. Republican Governor Nate Deal's refusal to expand Medicaid endangers John's life. You see, the Affordable Care Act will pay 100% of all of its needs for the Medicaid for 3 years, and up to 90% thereafter. How does this affect John? Well, the transportation service that was taking them, that is his mother and him, to his appointments, stopped because Governor Deal rejected the help to the poor, the children, and the elderly.
At one point, Medicaid had a contract with a company that would take him to his appointments, and then I guess that contract ended or whatever.
It was part of the Medicaid extension that he still to this day refuses to extend to the poor. Bottom line, time is not on the side of this precious family. They need a car. They need to go to a new home. They're being evicted. They're selling a book for financial support. Being evicted this month with no place to go. Can you imagine the horror of this family having to look at that sign and see that they have up until the 25th of this month to actually have to leave? If they don't, their belongings, every single thing that they own, will be tossed to the street for anybody to go after. This child is a mannerable, good student and son to his mother. Please give something. Have you noticed the time? Look at the clock. What time is it? Don't let this hour go by without helping, please. You will be doing something to actually save a life and help an entire family.